most of us struggle to see the concept of yin and yang, or the polarity I was talking to you about, in everyday life. This video is here to give you an example worth noticing, in my opinion. This comes from an observation that at the end of the day, both New Age/psychedelic spiritualities and science describe very similar realities with fields, vibrations, and potentials as the fundamental basis of reality, while using diametrically different methods. The difference is in how we arrive to these conclusions. One path follows rational, linear reasoning, while the other follows intuitive, holistic reasoning. It seems like esoteric/spiritual people and logical people usually have radically different aspects of the human mind develop. We can summarize it as holistic reasoning versus linear reasoning. But could you really define intuitive thinking without the existence of rational thinking? If the other didn't exist, then the two wouldn't be a category of experience. If one didn't exist, would we even have a category for the other? If everything were purely rational, would we still recognize what we now call intuition? And if everything were purely intuitive, would we even have a framework for logic? The same applies for holistic versus linear reasoning, or experiential versus deductive/inductive reasoning. Hence, these two thinking styles are to be taken as opposites, but also mutually necessary for the definitions to match up with the observations or experience of our psyche. Here is the yin and yang I'm telling you about. We often think of these as mutually exclusive categories of thinking due to our conscious discursive consciousness structure, but in reality, these two are a more fundamental polarity in how humans approach the world. Is it really this surprising that these two groups overlap so rarely? Look at how society is structured. We are told to pick paths, to follow our predispositions, and to develop them. We are forced to specialize. We tell some people that they aren't poetic or artistic, or conversely, that they aren't math people, whatever that means. At the end of the day, this causes some humans to develop one category of thinking and understanding the world over the other. Usually we take rational thinking as being the valid true kind and intuitive thinking as being some cuckoo kind of thinking. However, isn't it interesting that they both come to such similar conclusions? Meanwhile, one cannot exist without the other. Many major scientific breakthroughs were built on baseless assumptions and intuitions, like the assumption that the laws of physics are eternal and unchanging. This assumption, interestingly, mirrors religious ideas about God's unchanging and omnipotent nature. In science, we call these axioms, or basic assumptions we can't prove, but we need to take as true in order to move forward. I'll leave you with this thought. If two things are mutually codependent, present aspects of one another in each other, reach similar conclusions using two radically different paths, can you really reject one while fully embracing the other? Should you look down upon others who have chosen another path than you? Let me remind you that polar thinking does not choose one side over the other, but rather asks us to notice the unity within their opposition. We have been given tools and ways of analyzing the world that are very, very different across so many disciplines, cultures, and periods of time. Is it not time we start integrating and synthesizing them into a larger framework to take on and talk about the biggest questions and challenges coming our way? It makes you think, what kind of other things do we think are opposites that are mutually exclusive, battling for epistemological supremacy, where one takes all the validity from the other, when they could actually be both valid and mutually necessary? Maybe it's not about picking sides, but realizing that the tension between opposites is what drives growth, awareness, and deeper understanding.